Everybody else has a claim and Tony said this one was going to be mine. Like to get going on it. Tony Beets is about to do something he's never done before. In just a few moments, he's going to call his daughter Monika on the radio and ask her to come to the lower yard. She'll have no idea why. When she arrives, she'll find her father standing next to a brand new $1 million wash plant. At just a year old, this is the Doozer's gigantic hand-built 25-ton wash plant. The first and biggest of its kind in the region. A gorgeous machine that Tony bought specifically for her. No warning, no hints. Just a father surprising his daughter with the kind of gift that changes everything. But here's what makes this moment even bigger. Tony isn't just being generous. He's desperate. The king of the Klondike needs Monika to fire up a third mining operation immediately. And he's betting $1 million that this surprise will save his entire season. The $12.5 million chase. Here's why this matters. Music, Tony Beets is chasing a $12.5 million season. That's 5,000 ounces of Klondike gold at today's record-breaking prices. Right now, he's sitting at 4.20, just 180 ounces short of his target. That's $450,000 worth of gold standing between Tony and the biggest payday of his legendary career. Got 100 ounces out of the piggy bank. So, I kind of have a plan. I always wanted to check out the old-timer tailings, and if it ever was a time, then today is gold prices high, fuel price low. So, let's see what we can find down there. With the mining season rapidly closing and winter threatening to freeze everything solid, Tony is running out of time to hit his number. Deep in Canada's Yukon territory, Tony Beets understands one fundamental truth about gold mining. With prices climbing to historic highs, every single day of slewing, music, translates directly into profit. As Tony himself puts it, how much money you make depends entirely on how much effort you're willing to put in. And Tony Beets has never been a man who settles for minimum effort. He built his empire by outworking everyone else in the Klondike, and he's not about to change that philosophy now. Currently, Tony, Music, has 2 operations churning out gold around the clock. The massive trowel at Paradise Hill processes mountains of pay dirt, while the SLES operation at Indian River adds to his growing stockpile. 2 plants producing, Music, 2 revenue streams flowing. At 25.00 ounce, those operations have already banked nearly $12 million this season. Most miners would celebrate those numbers and start planning for next year. But Tony Beets isn't like most miners. Music, he wants to smash through his 5,000-ounce goal, not simply reach it. And that requires firing up a third plant before the Yukon winter shuts everything down. 3 simultaneous operations pulling gold from 3 different locations. This year it'd be nice to see all 3 kids involved in their own cuts. They got to succeed. They got to succeed. It's an aggressive strategy that could push his season totals into legendary territory. The Hester Cut disaster. The responsibility for making this happen falls on his daughter Monika. The original plan centered on a location called the Hester Cut. 2 acres of prime virgin ground that the old dredges left behind decades ago. Tony has studied this ground for 40 years, analyzing it, calculating its potential, waiting for the right moment to extract its riches. Virgin ground in the Klondike often yields the richest pay dirt. Untouched deposits that can produce monster gold. If Monika could get the Hester Cut operational, Tony calculated they could potentially add another $500 to their season total. That's $125 million in additional gold just waiting to be pulled from the earth. 7 weeks ago, Monika set out to transform her father's 4-decade dream into reality. The Hester Cut was going to be her operation. Her chance to prove herself once again in the unforgiving world of Klondike gold mining. Monika was genuinely excited about the possibilities. Virgin ground like this could produce the kind of chunky nuggets that make a miner's heart race. The anticipation was electric, but the Klondike has a way of crushing dreams without warning. What Monika found wasn't a gold mine waiting to be harvested. It was a complete disaster. The entire cut had transformed into a swimming pool of thick yellow mud. Well, what you figured? Well, still looks pretty wet to me. Yeah, no kidding, right? It's kind of a bloody mess if you ask me. Not brown, not grey, bright, sickly yellow, stretching in every direction like toxic pudding. They tried pumping. They tried waiting. Nothing worked. Tony's assessment was devastating and blunt. There wasn't even any point bringing a dozer into that mess. The soup hole made getting any equipment into position completely impossible. What they were looking at wasn't workable ground. It was quicksand with an attitude. Tony told Monika to just forget about it. The Hester Cut had beaten them. Sometimes in mining, you have to know when to walk away. Story over. Move on. Monika's brilliant idea. But Monika Beets inherited more than just her father's name. She inherited his stubborn refusal to accept defeat. While Tony was ready to abandon the third plant entirely, Monika's mind was already racing toward a solution. She had an idea that was about to change everything. Just 1,000 feet from the failed Hester cut sits a massive pile of tailings left behind by miners from generations past. Old-timer tailings they call them. Morning again, Kevin. Morning again. Kevin D. Gabby. Yo, what's up? Can you meet me at the old-timers tailings, please? There's quite a bit of history on this hill. This hill is the first hill that had mechanical mining in the Klondike. Oh yeah. So you want to jump down in the gully? She was there. Yeah. But I didn't think you guys ever seen this one before. Nope. No. Rocks and gravel that the original Klondike prospectors processed decades ago with primitive equipment that captured only a fraction of the available gold. Those old-timers didn't have the technology to extract everything. Music, they left gold behind in those piles. Gold that modern equipment could recover. For years earlier, Tony had slewed through these very tailings for 5 weeks. The operation produced 330 ounces of gold worth approximately $412,000 at the time. But here's what Monika remembered. When they stopped mining that location, they weren't finished. There was still gold left in those tailings. Gold that nobody had bothered to collect. And since then, the price of gold has doubled. Those same 330 would now be worth $825,000. Whatever remained in the tailings pile had literally doubled in value while sitting there completely untouched. Monika pitched her idea to her father. Why not redirect their efforts toward the old-timer tailings? Sure, it wasn't the virgin ground they had hoped for, but there was proven gold waiting in that pile. Gold they knew existed because they had already found some of it before. Tony listened carefully. His expression shifted from frustration to calculation. The math was undeniable. Same gold, double the price, double the profit. What was profitable 4 years ago would be twice as profitable today. The decision came fast. Let's do it. Monika couldn't hide her satisfaction. She thought the plan was, music, brilliant, and she wasn't shy about pointing out that she was the one who came up with it. As long as we can make a plan, start working on these things. Need to get that loose creek trommel to the welder, get everything fixed up, get me a pump. That's a solar plan. In a family operation like the Beets mining empire, proving your value never gets old. Within hours, crews were stockpiling the old-timer tailings, preparing them to run through the Moose Creek trommel. Tony's dream of a triple plant operation was suddenly back from the dead. By the end of the week, they could have 3 plants running simultaneously, 3 streams of gold flowing into the family coffers at $2,500 per ounce. But Tony Beets had already set something else in motion, something he hadn't shared with anyone. An opportunity had presented itself recently, and Tony had acted on it without hesitation. The surprise reveal. The radio crackled to life. Monika, do you copy? Yes, I do. Could you come to the lower yard, please? I have a bit of a surprise for you. Tony waited near the equipment storage area, arms crossed, watching the access road. He had arranged for the delivery 3 days ago, negotiating the deal himself and keeping it completely off the books until now. The other day, an opportunity came by, he explained later. And when opportunity knocks in the Klondike, you answer without hesitation. Monika's pickup truck rounded the corner and rolled to a stop. She stepped out, squinting against the afternoon sun, clearly confused about why her father had called her down here in the middle of a workday. The lower yard was mostly used for storing spare parts and broken equipment awaiting repair. Not exactly a destination for good news. Then she saw it. Sitting in the center of the yard, gleaming like it had just rolled off the factory floor, was the most beautiful piece of mining equipment Monika had ever seen. A brand new wash plant. Massive, pristine, the blue and yellow paint practically glowing in the Yukon light. For a long moment, Monika, music, just stood there processing what she was looking at. Her eyes traced the lines of the hopper, the SLES, music, runs, the hydraulic systems. This wasn't some patched-together second-hand equipment held together with welds and prayers. This was state-of-the-art. Absolute beast. This is a blue monster. There you go, young lady, Tony said, unable to suppress the hint of pride in his voice. A gorgeous machine. Monika walked toward the plant slowly, almost reverently, running her hand along the steel frame as she circled the massive piece of equipment. The opportunity presented itself, Tony continued, watching his daughter's reaction carefully. So, I decided I'd buy the thing. So, there you go. Well, I appreciate it. Monika managed, still taking in the scale of what her father had just handed her. Tony's surprise was $1 million super sleuth. Unlike anything else in his considerable arsenal, this machine was specifically engineered to handle the big boulders and heavy material that chokes conventional wash plants. The specs were impressive by any standard. The hopper could accept material up to 18 in diameter. Processing capacity topped out at 200 tons per hour when running at full speed. Water jets blasting at high pressure would wash gold free from the rocks, while hydraulic steel fingers pushed waste material away. The heavier gold particles would settle into the sloughs below, captured by ribbed matting designed to trap even the finest flour gold. At full capacity, a super SLES like this could yield 15 to 20 ounces per day under good conditions. That translated to $37,500 to $50,000 in gold every single day of operation. Over a 3-week sprint to end the season, the machine could potentially contribute 300 or more ounces to Tony's total. That's $750,000 in additional gold from $1 million investment in the Klondike. That math makes perfect sense. Crew foreman Glenn had wandered over to see what the commotion was about. He let out a low whistle when he saw the new equipment. "That's a serious piece of machinery right there," he said, circling the plant with appreciation. "Tony, where'd you even find one of these?" Tony just shrugged. "You keep your eyes open. You find things." Monika was already climbing up to inspect the hopper configuration. "I thought we were going to use the Moose Creek trommel for the tailings," she called down. "The Moose Creek trommel was going to take way too long," Tony explained. "This way we can plunk it down there, get it hooked up, and get going. Time is money." Monika paused on her inspection and looked down at her father. A smile crept across her face. "I still got a birthday present coming, though, right?" Tony's response was, "Vintage Beets. We'll see." "Let's run the thing," Monika declared. All business again. Moving the beast. But first, they needed to move 17 tons of wash plant from the lower yard to its operational position next to the old-timer tailings. Tony called in his best operators for the job. This was an A-team situation. No room for music or mistakes when you're maneuvering $1 million worth of equipment across rough Yukon terrain. The plan required precise, music-y coordination between multiple pieces of heavy machinery. First, Monika and Glenn would use forklifts to lift the massive plant, while cousin Mike positioned skids underneath. Then, Mike Beets would use a dozer to drag the whole assembly onto its final pad. Tony directed operations with his characteristic intensity. Radio constantly in hand, barking orders as the team, music, worked to position the equipment perfectly. "I think instead of going to Monika's cut, I think we should just move everything around, finish, music, pumping the hole out, finish taking that payout because if we don't do it now, it'll be next year again. So, let's not around. Let's delay Monika and we just concentrate on this." "Okay, Monika, up a little bit. Up a bit, up a bit." The forklift strained under the 17-ton load. Hydraulics whining in protest. "More, more, more. Hold it right there." Mike slid the skids, music, into position with millimeter precision. Years of experience guiding every movement. "Mike, pull it, please. Go, 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 go. Pull it a little bit more. Okay, perfect." The dozer cables went taut. Inch by inch, the $1 million Super SLES crept toward its new home next to the old-timer tailings pile. "Keep it going, man. Keep it rolling. That's good." Monika repositioned with the 700 excavators to push the plant the final distance into place. "You got to sit right smug in the middle. Keep it coming. That's good." The plant settled onto its pad with a satisfying thud. "That went pretty smooth," Mike admitted. "That went awesome," Monika agreed. Tony surveyed the positioned equipment with obvious satisfaction. "We'll level it off." "Bingo. Perfect. I think it'll be just right for what Monika needs." The $1 million Super Sleuth sat perfectly positioned next to the old-timer tailings pile, ready to transform decades-old leftovers into fresh gold at today's record prices. But the clock was ticking. The new plant was in place. But before Tony could start cashing in, there was still work to complete. Pumps needed installation. Pipes needed connection. Water supply lines needed to be run from the settling pond. Tony estimated 2 days to get everything operational. 2 days before the Super Slough would fire up for its first test run. The math for the final push was aggressive but achievable. With 3 plants running simultaneously, Tony calculated music, could process enough material to yield 40 to 50 ounces per day across all operations. At $20,500 per ounce, that meant $100,000 to $125,000 in gold hitting the scales every single day. To cover the remaining 180 ounces and smash through the 5,000-ounce barrier, Tony needed roughly 4 days of triple plant production. 4 days to secure the $12.5 million season. 4 days to cement his legacy as the undisputed king of the Klondike. The Super Sleuth gleamed in the fading Yukon sunlight. In 48 hours, Monika would feed the first bucket of old-timer tailings into that music hopper. In 48 hours, they would discover exactly how much gold the previous generation of miners left behind. Tony Beets was betting $1 million that the answer was plenty.